Let's go to the word. Grab your word and let's go to the book of Ruth. One verse, we'll be looking at the latter portion of the chapter. The text reads as follows. And after Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was cheerful, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. Here's where I want you to focus. And she came softly, uncovered his feet, and laid down. Ruth came softly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. You can have your seats. Here we have Naomi, who knew Boaz was winnowing barley at the threshing floor. So she sent Ruth to petition for her security, in other words, her rest. And we understand that that's layered, because her rest as in a place of support and refreshment, and her rest as in a remaining portion beyond the present. And so Naomi is showing how selfless she is in giving Ruth this information and being like, okay, we're at a season and we're at a particular place right now where if you make your request known, help me, where you make your request known, then the Redeemer will answer. Let me say it one more time. If you make your request known, the Redeemer will answer. I'm not trying to spiritualize the text, but I'm certainly giving you principle. Because as much as this is a shadow, there is much substance here. Because truth be told, this actually happened. This is somebody's actual life. And I want to reiterate something I said either last sermon or the sermon before that, is a lot of times we don't understand that as we're going through our day-to-day processes, that we're not seeing the intentionality of God. Because Ruth was not in the mindset of what was going to be birthed through her. She was doing what was practical that had purpose. We've heard this, right? She was doing what was practical. I don't glean, we don't eat. She was doing what was practical, but it was serving a purpose. Because sometimes we don't understand when God has relocated us, and when life has relocated us, is for God to pour out what he's going to do for you in a place that you've never been. Perhaps they had been in Bethlehem before, certainly in Naomi's case. But this place was different because this time was different. Can I get somebody to believe and say this time is going to be different? Because I left out empty. It's interesting that rest was entreated, encountered, and experienced in a place of separation. And so she asked for redemption in a place of separation. And then she encountered the potential of redemption in a place of separation. And then little did she know that she was really experiencing it, because she didn't know how this thing was going to turn out. But she was experiencing redemption in a place of separation. Take note here, by definition, winnowing is a process wherein chaff is separated from grain. Say, she's in a place of separation. Winnowing, because that's where Naomi knew Boaz would be, because she knew that he was not just going to supervise the harvest. He was not just going to oversee the harvest. He was going to work the harvest. See, when she met Boaz, Boaz was riding around observing, surveying his field as he should, being the Lord of the field. Are you understanding what I'm saying? But he wasn't just going to oversee it, he was going to work it. See, when you're a real leader, you just can't oversee. You got to put some work. Okay. So you got to put some work in. Yeah. So she knew where he would be, and she sends Ruth down to the threshing floor, and he's winnowing. And winnowing is a process of separation. Picture this, the Redeemer had been working on the threshing floor. Follow me here. The process of winnowing follows a process of crushing. Say, it's a process. The process of winnowing follows a process of crushing, which follows a process of reaping, which follows a process of in between, which is time intensive. See, we don't like to talk about the space and the time in between. We don't address the meantime much. We address sowing, we address weeping, but we don't address the meantime, and the meantime takes the longest time. You can sow in a day or two. It may take you weeks to reap, but it's going to take you months of meantime. Some of us, it takes years of meantime. It took Abraham years of meantime to realize the promise. It took David years to realize what God had. David was anointed, but his coronation didn't happen until years later. He got it step by step by step. And a lot of times when God has told us a thing is going to happen, we expect to reap it the next day. Are you hearing what I'm saying? And even though Naomi tells Ruth towards the end of this, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I got to go here right now. She says, he's going to figure this thing out today. Well, it had took months for them to arrive to that day. It had took a season at least to reach that day. Say, I got a season and a day. I don't know if y'all know I don't know if y'all know what time we're in. Say, there's a season and a day. I'm just talking about what I'm talking about. Because there's 7 weeks and then there's a day. Okay. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Don't miss this. By definition, process is a series of actions taken in order to achieve a particular end. Watch this. God has a particular end set for you and I. Do you believe that? He doesn't think evil towards us, but he thinks what? Good towards us. To bring us to an expected end. Somebody say, there's an expected end for me. But there's a process that's required. So you got to understand something about winnowing. Watch this. Something about winnowing is when there's separation want to be had, you got to put it up in the air. God help me. I said, in the process of winnowing, the wind is utilized for separation. Help me. I said, I spent weeks waiting on the wind. I don't know if you understand where I'm going. I said, I spent weeks waiting on the wind. I sowed to wait on the wind. And I was, in the meantime, I was cultivating and I was maintaining my field just so I could catch a wind. Because I'm waiting to catch the wind, because after the crushing, God help me, there's a wind. Say, after the crushing, there's a wind. When I was doing the study, I found that threshing floors, and we know this threshing floor in particular, we know the main threshing floor was in an elevated land. It was an elevated position, and that was so the wind could catch. The wind could catch that which had no value and make it fade away. It blew away. And so what would happen is, after the crushing, somebody say after the crushing. We want the harvest, but we don't want the crushing. And so say after the crushing. after the crushing, it was thrown up, and there was a separation. And the chaff, which has no weight and which has no value, is blown away. And then the inside of the grain, the kernel, the part that actually is worth something, it falls to the ground. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So watch this. It goes up in the air, and so that what is on it that's not supposed to be there and that has no use is separated, and then it falls back to the feet of the Redeemer. Anywho, I just want to paint that picture. Are y'all all right with that? We know that our objective is to get to the point with anything in life. The objective is to get to the point. The truth is, too often we miss on gleaning from the process. I said it before, I want to say it again. Too often we miss on gleaning through the process. We miss on gleaning from the process because we're so ready to get to the point. Imagine if Ruth never wanted to work that field. Imagine if she didn't want to work in the heat of the day. Watch this. Imagine if she didn't want to pick up what was being purposely laying down for her. Some of us want everything handed to us. Oh, God, help me. Some of us want everything handed to us, and there are some things that God has purposely said in our lives where we're going to have to pick up what he's putting down. So somebody say, pick it up. Because there will be a season when he's going to put it in your hands. I say, pick it up now. God, help my soul. I said, pick it up now because there's a season coming when he's going to put it in your hands. But you got to be willing to pick it up. Let me go back to this text before y'all think I'm somewhere I'm not. So we find Boaz laying down on the threshing floor, and Ruth postures herself as instructed. Let's go this way. Pure posture invites proper covering. I said pure posture invites proper covering. To be clear, Ruth's positioning is a petition for redemption. That's why she's there. This ain't about romance. This is about redemption. Truth be told, she's not looking for romance. She's looking for a new dimension and a different level of right relationship. Do I have anybody in the house who is looking for a new dimension and another level, a different level of right relationship? Watch this. I have right relationship right now, but I want a deeper level. I want a different level. Are you hearing what I'm saying? This is how Ruth is posturing herself. And whether this is in vertical relationship or whether this is in parallel relationship, the principle remains the same. I need to position myself for a deeper and a different level of right relationship. Does anybody want a deeper and a different level of right relationship? It could be with your spouse. It could be with your family, but it better be with the Most High. Say, I want a deeper relationship. No, I don't. Who you convincing? Don't try and don't repeat it just to appease me. I want a deeper relationship. Are you hearing what I'm saying? We have to want that for ourselves. She wants a new dimension and a deeper level. Say a new dimension, a deeper level. At midnight, she startled an unsuspecting Boaz, and she makes her request known. Notice, right relationship genuinely seeks right standing. Right relationship genuinely seeks right standing. Watch this. I'm more so talking about parallel relationships right now. I can want to be closer, but there must be agreement. I can want a new dimension, but there has to be an agreement. I can want a deeper level, but there has to be an agreement. Are you hearing what I'm saying? I can't want more out of any relationship that I'm in than the recipient and the other member is willing to participate in. Because some of us want to be deeper, but we have a member who's not willing. Oh, God, help me. I say we're in a relationship, and relationship is a membership. Relationship is a two-person membership. Watch this. And membership is saying, okay, I want to go to another level, but the other member might not want to participate. Just because we know how this process plays out, we got to put ourselves in Ruth's shoes. She doesn't know how this is going to play out. And if we be honest, we don't know how our petitions are going to play out. We believe that the Redeemer is going to keep his word. God help me. I say we just believe that but in order for him to keep his word, I got to make my request known. Oh, you hearing what I'm saying? Say, let your request be known. A genuinely right relationship genuinely seeks right standing. Okay, we've been close for a long time, but I want to go to a new dimension. I want to go to a deeper level. Watch this. We need each other's permission. We need each other's permission. And we've got to understand that marriage, Lord help my soul, the access to marriage is controlled by the man. Ladies, I know they say it's a man's world, but that's not the way this country runs. Are you hearing what I'm saying? This is not being chauvinistic. This is not being toxic masculinity or whatever the world they putting out there now. This is the way it is. If you want to be, watch this, because even if you ask him, because if we stay true to the text, she asked him. Oh, I know we don't like this right here because tradition say, you don't ask no man, what does she do? Yeah, let me break it down all the way. Who asks who? Is that not in your Bible? I know we don't like it in our tradition. I'm saying who sought who? I ain't talking about what you did. I'm talking about what Ruth did. Ruth was like, bruh, what's up? Huh? She asked. But watch this, it was his decision. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So watch this. Her mind's already made up. He has to make up his mind. But because we're dealing with culture, because I want to be contextually accurate, because we're dealing with culture, there's a bit of an obstacle in the way.
That's right. Come on, Pastor.
And sometimes even when you want right relationship, thank you, Holy Ghost, sometimes even when you want right relationship, there's an obstacle in the way. You ever been on the edge of a right relationship, but the wrong person was, there was a wrong person in the way. God help my soul. The wrong person was just in the way. It's like, I got to find a way to get around this person because this person is in my way. Sometimes it's a parent that's just, you trying to be married to your child. Get out the way. Mama, that ain't your man. Get out. Daddy, that ain't your wife. Get out. Oh, Lord, help me. I don't know if they're going to have me back after this one. This is my choice. Are you here? Am I right about it? Can we be real in the Lord's church? Yeah. Truth be told, Ruth's petition is born out of a provision written in the law. So that means somewhere in the course of time, Naomi had explained this law to her to some degree. Listen close, Deuteronomy 25, 5-6 supplies a way of care for widows and a continuance for the deceased husband's name to continue through the firstborn of his kinsmen. That's a lot of stuff going on. Because the kinsman has to sacrifice his firstborn. You missed it. I say the kinsman has to sacrifice the firstborn. Because the firstborn of the kinsman isn't his. It belongs to the Father.
That's right.
It belongs to his brother. It doesn't belong to him. Okay. Somebody say to be continued. Sometimes you got to sacrifice. Okay. Here's the thing. Deuteronomy 25, 7 through 8 also expresses performing this duty is an option. It's a law, but it's optional. Do understand the acceptance of responsibility was a voluntary activity. You can't make somebody responsible. Lord have mercy. I said, you can't, watch this. The Lord, even in the dispensation of law, they did not try to legislate responsibility. Even in the dispensation of the law, there was no legislation for relational responsibility. It was the option. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Say, it's an option. So watch this. This is how we get messed up and stuff. We try to make somebody responsible who doesn't want to be. You gotta be responsible for me. No. Actually, I don't. Well, you know the situation that I'm in, and the situation that I'm in, you should take care of me. Actually, I don't have to. Because the truth be told, the option means I don't owe you. Oh, let me say this. I hope you all hear my churchifiedness up in here. He didn't have to do it, but he. Say the Redeemer didn't have to do it. Lean back in your chair and say, but he did. Diggs, that was your cue. You were supposed to help me right now. One more time. Say the Redeemer didn't have to do it. But he did. In other words, redemption is a matter of volition. Because he didn't have to do it. He could have gave up the cup in the garden. Are you following what I'm saying? But he had to surrender to continue. I be trying not to, let me calm down. He had to surrender to continue. Let me act like I don't get excited when God gives me something. He had to surrender to continue. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Because the story would have been over if he wasn't willing to sacrifice. Say, my story would have been over if the Redeemer didn't choose to sacrifice. Let's go further. Virtue is an invaluable quality. Virtue has a distinctive, dutiful, and desirable volume that calls for honor. When you are virtuous, when you have virtue, your virtue in and of itself will call for honor. You don't have to say anything. Your virtue will call honor to you. It will cause honor for you. Are you hearing what I'm saying? It is Ruth's virtue that has Boaz's attention. It's not that she's voluptuous. She wasn't a video vixen. I'm just saying. It was her virtue. Get this. Virtue recognizes virtue. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Virtue recognizes virtue. When you know somebody got virtue, you can, the way that you deal with them is totally different. There's certain things that me and Pastor Postel don't even have conversations about because I know that she's good for it. Are you hearing what I'm saying? And when you're in right relationship with somebody, sometimes you can just look, oh, I know you good for it because your virtue's telling me. Are you hearing what I'm saying? And it is her virtue that was a testimony in rooms that she hadn't been in. How did Boaz know her story before they met? Her virtue had volume. Say, my virtue speaks volumes about me. And if you lack it, shh, it's quiet. Verse 10, Boaz told Ruth, blessed are you of the Lord, my daughter. You've shown more kindness at the end than the beginning. You didn't go after young men, poor or rich. You wasn't chasing everybody out here. You wasn't looking for somebody to pick you up. You wouldn't settle for just anything. So there's an indication that Boaz is far older than she is. By the way, he addresses her because he addresses her as daughter. Right? And then he says this, he says, look, I noticed that you didn't go after anybody. You didn't go after the young men. Watch this. You didn't chase inexperience, help me. You didn't chase instability, help me. You waited for wisdom. Say she waited for strength. She waited for strength because she had already been married to sickness. Yeah, sickness. She was all, watch this, she learned from the last relationship she was in. A lot of times when we're in wrong relationships, we keep chasing wrong relationships. Because some of us are addicted to abuse. Some of us are addicted to chaos. Some of us are addicted to drama. Some of us are addicted to toxic characters. Yeah, you dating a different person, but that toxicity is the same as you left. Sickness died, and she found strength. And watch this. It's not coincidence, it's purpose. Somebody say it's not coincidence. It's purpose. How is it that she came to Bethlehem and found herself in Boaz's field? It's not coincidence, it's purpose. Say, God doesn't have me where he has me on coincidence. Say it's not by coincidence. It's on purpose. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Say it's not coincidence. It's purpose. It seems like a struggle right now. But it's not coincidence. It's purpose. And so Boaz agreed to grant Ruth's request, noting that she was known to be virtuous. Key in right here, the next level of any relationship requires agreement. The next level of any relationship requires agreement. I can't watch this. I know it's a whole bunch of jokers out here promoting themselves to apostles and prophets and evangelists and pastors and teachers. Watch this. The next level of relationship, you can call yourself whatever you want to. You can call yourself that person's spouse. But Lord, they got to be in agreement. That's my wife. Did she agree? That's my husband. I'm going to name it and claim it. You will lie, and you're going to die disappointed. I know that was rough. Let me scale it back a little bit. It's mine. Huh? Who agreed to this? Who agreed to this? Huh? Well, you just gonna be who I want you to be. Who agreed to this? Did we have a conversation that I wasn't a part of? And some of us are telling God, some of us are telling y'all who he's gonna be, and he didn't agree to it. We done told him who he's going to be to us. The nerve. The unmitigated gall. Who do you think you are? It's my access to grant. Okay. Let's be clear. Nothing indecent or improper took place that night on the threshing floor. If it had, Ruth and Boaz's virtue would have been voided. There would be no integrity in notifying the closer kinsmen. There would have been no reason to do it. Oh, you understand what I'm saying? There would have been no integrity involved for him to be like, you know what? There's somebody else. There's something else. And the text tells us very plainly, she laid down at his feet. She startled him. They had a conversation. He made a promise to her, and then she laid right back down. And when she got up in the morning, where was she? Because we want to make it romantic. And this had nothing to do with romance. This was about responsibility. And some of us fall in love with the idea of romance. But we don't fall in love with the idea of responsibility. Oh, you understand what I'm saying? Oh, we want romance. Oh, we can think of all the things that we like, the candlelit light, right? You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know what we do. They was on the threshing floor. We done made it a 5-star restaurant where Boaz's servants was feeding them. You know what I'm saying? Fresh lamb and manna. No. He was laying in the clothes that he had worked in. Y'all don't hear what I'm saying. Now, she was anointed. She was washed. But he was in the same thing he was working in. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Now, ladies, I know some of y'all might have felt desperate. When a man's stinking, though, I'm just. Because man must hit different. Yeah. I'm just real. Whoo. Huh? When I get outside from cutting the grass, my wife be like, ooh. She don't say nothing degrading, but that woo let me know everything I need to woo. Quick side note, you ever walk to somebody and be like, woo? Because that kind of stank make you ask questions. Woo! What happened? What died? Are you hearing what I'm saying? I want to make something abundantly clear. Intimacy is far deeper than intercourse. Intimacy is far deeper than intercourse. There's a different level of intentionality. Intimacy has a different level of intentionality. Are you hearing what I'm saying? When there's intimacy, watch this, there's arousal in conversation. Come on. There's pleasure in quietness. There's satisfaction in stillness. Just being in the presence of the one that you're intimate with, nothing is better. Are you hearing what I'm saying? That's what real intimacy is. But it's too many people out here chasing contact instead of covenant. Listen close. True covering is always governed by order. True covering is always governed by order. The truth is, order is non-negotiable. Order is non-negotiable in covering and covenant relationship. Let me say it again. Order is non-negotiable in covering and covenant relationship. If you can't follow my orders, we can't be in right relationship. If you can't follow my orders, we can't be in covenant relationship. I know a lot of people have a difficulty with that when they're coming from the pulpit, but the truth of the matter is, if you can't follow my order, why are you here? I'm not going to listen to what the preacher say. Why the world are you there? And then you hear some people like, well, the Lord sent me. The Lord didn't send you to be disobedient. The Lord did not send you to be disruptive in that regard. Because I'm not saying that the Lord won't send you to a place that is where the reception is difficult. That happens. But you ain't coming there to upset. You understand what I'm saying? To unsettle things, not like that. Nope. I don't know where you got that from. I'm going to change things around here. Whoa. Let me ask you a question. Were you really sent? Right? I was sent by the Lord. Which one? Because some of y'all were sent by warlords. Everywhere you go, conflict. I know who sent you. Anyway, the text reveals Boaz understood order and his opportunity. So he understands order and he understands his opportunity. There was a possibility for a closer relative to perform the role of a kinsman. Boaz isn't first in line, and he's good with that, as long as roof is covered. Boaz is like, I don't have to be first. I just want you to be covered. I'm willing to take that position, but if it is for me to do, I'd rather you be covered than for me to get what I want. Because my preference is your protection. My preference is your provision. Because that's what I want for you. He makes Ruth a promise to perform the duty if he's given the opportunity. Don't miss this. Right relationship is always looking to do right by its membership. Right relationship is always looking to do right by its membership. I'm just trying to do right by you. What is the best thing for you? Because if letting you go is the best thing for you, I'm here for it. If letting somebody else, I can say this as a pastor, if letting someone else cover you is going to do what it needs to do for your life, I'm good with it. Make no mistakes, I would love to be your covering, but if there's one that's ahead of me, this is why sometimes second place isn't always a bad position. You better ask Joseph. Somebody say second place. I'm good. I'm good because I respect order. I understand order, and I understand my opportunity. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Because if I'm in the right position, I'm going to be able to provide for somebody. Joseph was not, can I take a side note? Joseph was not in the lead position. He was in the second position. But his position was able to provide for somebody. Because I got to do it. We always go to the pit, and we always go to Potiphar's, and then we always go to the prison, and then we go to the palace, and we start right there. But that wasn't his purpose. His purpose was to provide. Okay. Let me close that and come back over here. Are you hearing what I'm saying, though? As a rule, right relationship rarely exercises responsibility. That's just what it does. I want you to mark this right here. Pure intentions won't leave a promise undone. Pure intentions won't leave a promise undone. If someone who has the right intentions for you makes a promise to you, they won't leave it undone. It'll make them restless. It'll make them restless because I got to do right by you. I got to do right by you. This thing ain't gonna set well with me until I do right by you. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Not because you're entitled to it, but because I've made myself responsible for it. I've agreed to this responsibility. I've agreed to the responsibility to do right by you. We only want the agreement for somebody to be romantic with us, but they won't do right. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Because watch this, if you've been married any amount of time, sometimes it ain't gonna be romantic. I've been married 16 years. Every day ain't romantic. Everybody sees our relationship. Man, y'all got a fabulous relationship. And we do, bless the name of the Lord. But it's not always romantic. But I can tell you what, it's always on both sides. I'm responsible. I've made an agreement to be responsible to cover you. Oh, you understand what I'm saying? I am my wife's covering first and foremost. I'm going to make sure that she's provided for in my life, and in the event of my death, I'm going to make sure she's provided for. You married and you ain't got no insurance, I got to check your love. I said it and I ain't stutter. Huh? I love my family, but you lead them with a bill. Oh, see, I know I'm aggravating folk now. How you gonna judge me? I'm just saying. You're supposed to leave an inheritance for your children's children. That's what a what? Oh, I think you know some scripture. That's what a good man. You think you're a good man because you can lay it down. I tell you what you need to do. Take a seat. Just move around. Watch this. Get out the way. Receive this. Redemption, brother. Help me, Holy Ghost. Redemption is a responsibility taken intentionally. I said, redemption is a responsibility taken intentionally. Ruth laid at Boaz's feet until morning. As a matter of reputation preservation on both of their behalves, Boaz tells Ruth, do not let it be known that a woman came to the threshing room floor, because you know people talk. This was not Netflix and chill. This was not Netflix and chill. You laid at my feet while I was asleep. You stayed at my feet while I was awake. And you went back to sleep at my feet until morning. Because this wasn't nothing to do with romance. This was about responsibility and who would take it. Who's willing to take responsibility for you? If you're in a relationship where somebody isn't willing to take their level, their degree of responsibility for you, you ain't in right relationship. I got a word for you. Exodus. That's bondage. That's bondage. Get this. Discretion is necessary, especially when innocence is involved. I'm not going to tell you everything about my child because he's innocent. You trying to hide stuff? No, I'm protecting him. I'm not telling you everything about my house. I get it why people do it. I'm not making a judgment. I'm just saying it's something I won't do. You will not ever see me post where I'm going while I'm going there. Are you hearing what I'm saying? I ain't trying to front for nobody. I done been in Mexico 4 or 5 times, right? Done enjoyed myself. Done stayed at resorts that will make most people's eyes pop. That's the truth. Some of y'all ain't never know I've been once. Why? Was it your business? I'll be this transparent to let it get lighter real quick. My first son was a Mexican. Ask me about it afterwards, I'll tell you. Are you hearing what I'm saying? But I'm not letting you know everything about my life, not because I'm being secretive, but because I practice discretion. The only people going to know where I'm going is people who need to know. It is a need-to-know basis with me. You will not know the entirety of my life. It ain't your business. You trying to be secretive. We don't know what happened between Jesus' birth and 12 years old. We don't know what happened for Jesus' life from 12 years old till about 30. We don't know. You know he was born, the Magi came, poof, 12 years, gone. We don't find him again until 3 days after the feast, when he was confounding the lawyers. And then he's already an expert as a preteen, but we don't see him again until he's a grown man. And now we got toddlers preaching. Oh, let me come back over here. It's cute. They gifted. You don't know what God can do? Okay. I'm telling you, some of this stuff ain't God. It's just learned behavior. Come on. Some of these preachers, and I'm not just talking about the young ones. Some of these preachers ain't preachers. They're parakeets. Preachers say what? Okay. That ain't revelation. You just repeated what you heard. Ruth returned to Naomi with a good report. Boaz didn't let her go empty-handed. And so Naomi tells Ruth to sit still. Look at somebody, say, sit still. She says, sit still until you know how the matter will turn out. For the man will not rest until he has concluded the matter this day. Evidently, Naomi knew and or believed that Boaz was a man of his word. As a rule, right relationship is devoted to keep its word. Hear me by the Spirit. True covering is sought at the feet of the Redeemer. Make no mistake, when we come to where our Redeemer is, he will keep his word. I said, when we come to the feet of our Redeemer, I ain't talking about Boaz. I said, when we come to the feet of our Redeemer and make our request known, he will keep his word. Can I take you on an intentional quick side note? When Martha's sister Mary is mentioned, there's something interesting about Martha's sister Mary. When she's mentioned, she's often found at the feet of the Redeemer. Luke 10:39, at Martha's home, hearing the word of the Messiah, you're going to find Mary at the feet of the Redeemer. John 11, verse 32, at Lazarus' gravesite, weeping to Yeshua over her brother's death. Guess where she falls? She falls to the feet of the Redeemer. Can I give you one more? John chapter 12, verse number 3, 6 days before the Passover, anointing the feet of the Passover himself. She's found at the feet of her Redeemer. Know this, pure posture invites proper covering. It's the virtue of faithfulness that ushers us closer to a right relationship. It ushers us into a closer relationship with our Redeemer. Order is non-negotiable. Somebody say, order is non-negotiable. You're going to be in right relationship. You're going to be in covenant relationship. Order is non-negotiable. Because I'm going to do right by you. And you're going to do right by me. Not out of a sense of entitlement, but out of the heart of honor. Order is non-negotiable. The intentionality of true covering won't leave a promise undone. Here's the thing. If we want a word, we'll be found at the feet of the Redeemer. When we're grieving and when we want right relationship and covenant relationship, we'll posture ourselves at the feet of our Redeemer. When we're in his presence, all I need to do is just be in his presence. When I'm in his presence, let's posture, when we're in his presence, let's posture ourselves at the feet of our Redeemer and receive the intentionality of his covering. Say, his covering has intentionality. It's not romantic, it's his responsibility. It's his responsibility. Let us receive the intentionality of the Redeemer's covering. Lay at his feet. Stay at his feet. I want to give you a series title for this particular message, the intentionality of covering. Somebody say, lay at his feet. Stay at his feet. You want a word? I'll tell you where you can find it. At his feet. You going through pain because you don't understand the losses that have hit your life? Get at his feet. You find yourself in his presence, understanding. Mary, when she went to the feet of Jesus, she didn't understand what he was about to sacrifice. But when you understand what your Redeemer, God help my soul, when you understand what your Redeemer has to be willing to sacrifice, you'll lay at his feet. Ruth had some kind of understanding of the sacrifice that Boaz was going to have to give, because he was going to have to sacrifice their firstborn. Oh, you understand what I'm saying? He was going to have to sacrifice his firstborn. But you think it's coincidence that Ruth was barren for a decade? Or was it purpose? Because if she would have bore a child from sickness, then sickness would be her lineage. Woo! God help my soul. And sometimes we're complaining about a barren, y'all, I'm trying not to, I said sometimes we complain about a barren season. You got to understand the reason why that stuff didn't come through your system is because it wasn't meant for your life. And I'm not just talking about natural birth. I'm talking about spirit. There were some things that you were in wrong relationship with. Huh? There are some people, come on now here. There are some people that you created soul ties with, but it never bore anything, and you ought to give God praise. Because watch this. If Ruth would have bore a child with Malone, she would have created a sick friend. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Because both parties are in the, come on now. When both parties are in the, are you hearing what I'm saying? They may look like one, it's going to act like the. That's why we be mad when we in wrong relationships. You act just like your mama. You act just like your, yeah, of course. What did you expect? Oh, but you was looking for contact instead of covenant. And now you upset. Because now your contact has caused you to contract a dis-ease. Are you hearing what I'm saying? But aren't you glad that you serve a God that don't let, watch this, because watch this, come on, let's be real. They were married for 10 years. You don't think he was sowing? But he wasn't reaping. Sickness didn't reap. You ought to give God praise right there. I said sickness didn't reap anything. But now she's in a position because she's postured herself at the feet of her Redeemer. And she takes the covering off his feet. And she postures herself at his feet. And when she gets his attention, she says, let me be under your wing. Let your maidservant come under your wing. And she postures herself at the feet of one who was able to redeem her. Here's the thing, there was an obstacle in the way. It wasn't that she didn't want to be with her Redeemer. It's just that something else was in the way. Can I leave this with you and pick it up next week? There's sometimes that we want to be with the Redeemer. We've already survived sickness. God help my soul. We've already survived sickness. And now strength is present. But there's still an obstacle in the way. And watch this. Strength wants to redeem you. Strength wants to redeem you. But sometimes there's still an obstacle in the way. But there's an intentionality with true covering. There's an intentionality that says, I'm going to be here and I'm going to make sure that what is right by you happens for you, even if it doesn't involve me. That's a parallel thing. That ain't a vertical thing. But I'm going to do right by you. Do you understand that we're talking simultaneously in two different dimensions? Because we're talking in a divine dimension and we're talking in a natural dimension at the same time. Are you catching that? Let me put it this way. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Because a season is coming where the Redeemer is not going to leave you empty-handed. Because strength says, Boaz says, I'm not sending you back to your mother-in-law empty-handed. Can I say it this way? I'm not sending you home empty-handed because I have intentions for you. So don't go home the way that you came, because you came to me empty-handed and you was picking up what I was putting down. But now because you've been virtuous, let me put something in your hands. Give God a praise right there. It's way bigger than this. We've romanticized it. Go get your Boaz. But don't look for Boaz. Boaz is Ruth's man. You missed the principle. You missed the principle. You missed the shadow and the substance. Here's the principle, that strength is available to those who will seek it. Strength is available. You think it's coincidence that strength was still available? Or was it purpose? Give him another praise right there.